I think the phrase super fight may find its origins in that fantasy fight between Rocky Marciano, who was retired and quite a bit older at that time, pretending to be his prime self, pitted against Muhammad Ali, who at the time was serving his ban from the ring. For me, it's always associated with the first fight between Ali and Frazier, a fight that had an unprecedented amount of interest and hype before it. If you listen to Larry Merchant, who, God bless him, he's still with us, managed to leave the hospital after a recent scare at, 91, 92. Well, he always maintains, the build-up to the first Ali-Frazier fight was like nothing he's ever been a part of, and just consider how many big fights he's been a part of. 15 rounds later, on March 8th, 1971, and the boxing world is delivered a complete classic, which somehow manages to live up to the hype. That is the benchmark for the proverbial super fight, mega fight, whatever you want to call it. Of course, that one was named Fight of the Century. All others that have been named Fight of the Century before, and maybe one or two after, did not compare to the quality of that particular encounter. In more recent times, say over the last 10 years or more, as we know, boxing, inactivity, its main problem, big fights not being made when they should, has basically plagued every fight you could really say was a super fight. Just look at this list. Here are 5 fights which were super fights at one point. You can use that phrase without cringing, like, say, somebody tried to put it on the fight between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. Give me a break. Well, here we go at the top. Adonis Stevenson, Sergey Kovalev, that just never happened. But every other one here suffers when we look back at it, because we know one or both participants weren't at their best because we just allowed too much time to go by. It's become the norm, sadly, for genuine super fights to not be contested when they really matter. And so, case in point, we have had the already overdue super fight between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury rescheduled for May 18th. If we're to take everything at face value and not get into any conspiratorial type of nonsense, and we say, yeah, Fury was in the best shape in a long time, and Usyk's apparently peaking and everything's going perfect in camp, well, we just unfortunately have to let more time go by. Usyk, the older man at 37, has no choice now but to take his foot off the gas, just keep himself ticked over for the next month and a half, 2 months, and then go for it again. Try and get to that same level of conditioning, which he might not quite be able to do. That's what happens when you're getting older, when you're putting an already pretty warm body into another intensive training camp. You're only going to come out with a little bit less. We don't know how that will affect or manifest in the fight, whether it affects the outcome. But that is a fact of putting an older body through it again. You certainly do get the sense that Fury is the happier of the two for this recent development. He likes the stop and start. It's another opportunity to try and ruffle Usyk, which he may not have done quite yet. Anything to just see him get angry, even if it's only just to make him believe that he's more in control. This is all part of the Fury mind games. I know for a fact that when Foreman got cut in the lead up to the Rumble in the Jungle, which postponed it by about a month, that was just another month for Ali to keep sticking it to him. He's trying to leave on elephants, yet the man is scared. Whether it's true or not, that just kind of constant verbal battering, that almost childlike energy where I'm not allowing you to talk, I think it eventually can get to you. And so I think if anybody's really going to be getting a clear advantage from this postponement, you've got to believe it's Fury. Especially if those rumours of him not doing so great in training were true. This is just more time for him now to reevaluate, get better conditioning, work on certain things. Yeah, he'll take that. Something I think we lose sight of, though, as fans, and, okay, maybe more the hardcore fans, but we're trying to recruit more and more of those people engaged in boxing to open their eyes a bit wider and not treat super fights like a movie that's just in this endless post-production that you're going to want to see at every point. No, the reality is it's losing value the longer it's kept in post-production. That is what's happening. For those in the States who pay an astronomical sum to watch a certain pay-per-view, ask yourself, when we're dealing with the genuine super fights, Did you get bang for your buck the last time you purchased a super fight? Or had your attention been unnecessarily milked to the point that the fighters were past their best, they wanted to cash in their chips, and you got basically a bit of a lukewarm affair? Our interest level should be directly proportionate to what we're being served on paper. I know that's a very hard thing to instill to people who just want to sit down and watch a big fight, but again, exercise some self-reflection. Look at everything you've bought. Was it good? If it wasn't, what was the common denominator? The thing to focus on is that if you do exercise that restraint and the pay-per-view buys went down and promoters and boxers started to realize that the only way they could really capitalize was to fight when it really mattered, then boom, boxing starts to improve. It may be the case that, of course, as a hardcore fan, who cares about the general health of a sport? I'm yelling from a very far away point that a lot of the casuals haven't got a prayer of hearing me, but that isn't going to stop me from making my case and, of course, trying to do and instill something in boxing, a certain integrity that we'd all benefit from. Fights, once you get past all the cinematic stuff, the promotion, the circus of it all, it's got a lot more in common with a souffle than it does with a film. You can't just throw it in the can, then it's fine and performances are crystallized. No, it's in the oven, it's starting to burn. And we hope, of course, that the supposed fight now between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury, May 18th, is just maybe a little bit overly browned. And really, comparing it to those other super fights that I showed earlier in this video, I don't think we're going to be getting any of that overly hesitant energy where there's a really long, overly long feeling out process. We kind of got that in the second Froch Groves fight over here in Wembley. The event got to them. I think some of that was true about the first Golovkin-Canelo fight. There were some okay exchanges, but there's also the sense of like, okay, let's not put a foot wrong here in front of everybody. Kovalev Ward, all right fight. Pacquiao Mayweather, enough said. This super fight, I feel, has a certain needle that those other ones didn't. Some of those fights were, it's like they kind of just want to get over the finish line, not take too much damage. You see a lot of coasting in the last round, and it's like, cool, we can all go home. We've all made lots of money. I think Usyk's probably annoyed now. He's going to use that as more fuel, the fact it's been postponed, to do a number on Fury come May 18th. And for Tyson, the insults that he apparently had to suffer, Usyk's manager about his wife, whether it's true, he'll be taking that as more fuel. And so many people now verbally saying, look, I think Usyk's going to win. It's surprising that Fury is the slight favourite, if you were to look online. He's going to be taking that all on, going, all right, I'm going to prove you wrong here. So, while, of course, this is all annoying, and while I think I've learnt now, after being a little bit overly optimistic, that I am not going to believe it until the first bell rings. That is so apt, that phrase right now. I do still think that if we get to the point where they're both in the ring, we are going to get a decent fight between two guys who want it beyond the belts and the money. But what do you all make of this recent development / disappointment? Look, I've seen some people say, I'm not tuning in again until fight night, and I totally get it. Why potentially have your investment frustrated again? Really, just put this one on ice. I don't know whether my prediction will change at all come fight night. Do you think, though, that this postponement has benefited anyone? And if so, who? Spoons up.